afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Sunners. I'm joined here today with Drew Tignanelli. We're with the Financial Consulate, and today we are going to be focusing on the non-financial aspects impacting your retirement.
Yes.
So what I want to start with is our mission statement, because our mission statement really ties in well with the non-financial impacts of retirement. So our mission is to help lessen the worry and burden of wealth management and enhance financial wellness so our clients can pursue relationships and true fulfillment. So what this really means is here at the Financial Consulate, we're going to be focused on helping you lessen that worry of money management. We're going to be doing the research on markets. We're going to be investing the portfolios the best we can and sort of help you not have to worry as much about the financial impacts on retirement so that you can focus on the non-financial impacts, like developing relationships and the things more important in life. So,
Hey, there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal about how relationships are so important to your life and the health of your life and the longevity of your life. It was a great article. I think we sent it out to clients when it came out a few months ago. It was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, and you developed this mission statement many, many years ago. What does this mission statement mean to you?
Well, I mean, we were pursuing money and making money for our clients, and no matter how hard we pursued that, it never seemed to have any fulfillment to me or to our clients. And all of a sudden, one day, we just realized that a lot of married couples are coming to us, Alex, saying to us, if you can help us with money management issues, maybe we would be happier. And it was like a light bulb moment that what we do is far more important than just trying to lower somebody's taxes and make money for them. And that's where the whole mission statement came from, Alec.
Yeah. So one of the things that is really important in your retirement is actually happening before you retire. There are impacts that are affecting you before you even retire. So one of the things that really affects people is they go into retirement and they retire and they sort of do it cold turkey, I'll call it. And they're working full time, 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. And then one day they retire and then they're completely upended with their schedule. They have nothing to do. They don't have that. They don't work 9 to 5. They don't have that routine anymore. So setting goals for yourself, whether it be exercise daily, read one book a month, hang out with friends and family every other weekend, whatever that might be, can really affect how you start out your retirement. And another thing that you can do is sort of practice retirement. So let's say you're ready to retire and you say, okay, I'm going to retire January 1st of next year. Well, instead of just going from full-time to completely retired, instead try doing 3 days a week or 20 hours a week. And then you still have that routine of working, but then you also have some time to experiment with what retirement is like. One of the things that we found is people that work are often happier than people that are not working. And Drew, I know you've had many clients that have told you that personally.
Oh yeah, we have lots of clients that are 80 years old and still working full time, and they're loving every minute of it. But you always have to remember, Alec, that if you're like me and you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. If you're though being burned out by what you're doing, then that statement's not true, right?
Yeah.
So we have to clarify that, if you like what you're doing, don't just retire because you figure, well, all my friends are retiring. Well, you might be surprised at what they're thinking about now. So practice retirement is a great concept. If you think you want to retire, then try it. Try just not working all 5 days of the week and going forth. But let me tell you the most important thing you said here, Alec, and that is setting goals and having analyses run to show that those goals can happen. Because think about it. Like you said, you've been working for 40 years, getting a paycheck, spending a paycheck, getting a paycheck, spending a paycheck. And all of a sudden, you're saying to yourself, Alec, I'm not going to get a paycheck anymore, and I'm going to be okay. And the human mind just can't grab that immediately unless they see it. And
Yeah.
that's why what we do is so important for the client is to set a goal, tell us what you want to accomplish, and let us run the analysis over and over and over until you get it ingrained into you that you can do this financially. You can do this.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, and just expanding on what you had mentioned about, those that are working are often happier. You're right. If you're not happy working, you should not continue to work. But it doesn't mean you have to completely stop working at all. There are other options that you say, I'm not ready for retirement completely, but I still want to do something. So maybe you had a past job that you really found fulfillment from, but it just wasn't the career for you at the time. You can always go back to that job and say, this is what makes me truly happy. I want to continue doing this in retirement. Let me retire from the job that was, paying me well, but just I wasn't happy at, and let me start a new job in retirement, working part-time, just that's something that fulfills me, makes me happy.
Yeah, we see that all the time. We have a client just recently, pretty much retired, and went and took just a simple general job. And he was fairly high level person. Just took a simple level, job, no responsibilities. Just go in. This is what you got to do, and he's just as happy as a clam. He doesn't make a lot of money, but he just knows he's got a purpose. He's got something to do. It's amazing how the human psyche actually operates.
Yeah, and that also helps with setting that new routine in retirement. If you have a part-time job to go to, then you can plan your day around that. You can plan your next X amount of years around that new routine.
There's actually a negative thing that some researchers have talked about, and that is that if you leave a very important high level type position and you go into retirement and you're just playing golf and fishing and traveling and stuff like that, after a few years of that, you might get that sense of dissatisfaction. Is this all there is? And next thing you know, you're trying to do something as big as what you were doing. And next thing you know, it doesn't work out well. And you've sunk a lot of effort, time, money, especially into something, trying to rebuild something that you had. Because when you left what you were, who you were and what you were doing, you didn't properly carry it into the what you're going to do to find that fulfillment in life in retirement.
A successful retiree isn't retiring from something, they're retiring to something instead.
There's no doubt about that. That's extremely important, Alec.
Another thing that impacts a lot of retirees that we see personally is when you retire, you sort of lose your identity for a little bit. A lot of people identify with their job. So if I'm at a gathering and I'm meeting new people and they say, what do you do? Who are you? Well, I'll say, I'm a financial advisor. That's what I do. That's who I am. And for the next 40 years, that's what I'm going to say. When you get into retirement, that what do you do is going to change, and that can affect a lot of people.
That is true. And I've always tried to stay away from the concept of that I am a financial advisor. I am. That's my work, right? But that's not who I am. I'm trying to say is that I don't identify myself. If I'm not a financial advisor, I'm going to still be the same person. At least that's the way I try to work in my own life.
Yeah, and I think that's important for a lot of people to hear because a lot of people don't do that and they do identify with their career because it's a big part of them. And everyone has to find who they are outside of that career.
True. Very true.
So building off of that, finding that new identity in retirement is finding that purpose in retirement. A lot of people will retire and they're at the age where maybe their kids start having kids and they want to develop those relationships with grandkids and be really important to their grandkids' lives and be, very present and develop those relationships and deepen those relationships with those family members. One of the things that we see with successful retirees is they're either always looking forward to something. So they plan a trip in the next 6 months that they're looking forward to. And then they have another one planned, another 8 months or whatever that might be. And their purpose is to travel with their family or a partner or whoever that might be. The other
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so the other thing I was going to say is some people don't always like to book things out and look forward to do something. So they like just accomplishing tasks daily. So they might be babysitting for their kids. That's what they do each day. And that's something they look forward to. They say, hey, my kids are, both working full time. So my grandkids need someone to watch them. And that's what I do each and every day and something that I accomplish in retirement.
We have a lot of clients that do that, and some love it, some don't. But it's your choice, right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing if you don't, but it's not the absolute best thing if you do. It is your thing. It is your decision,
Yeah, and the other thing is, everyone has to find their own purpose in life. Because if I ask Drew what the purpose of life is, and I ask my parents what the purpose of life is, and my friends, and everyone's going to say, oh, I don't know, here's what I think. Well, everyone has to find their purpose in life. And a lot of people say, well, my purpose in life is to be with my family or be with my friends or do this to help people or what that might be. And everyone has to find their own purpose.
Yeah, we had clients, Alec, just recently. They live a few states away from their children. There was a death in the family, and it just triggered something into them. They said, "We want to be near our children and grandchildren now. At this stage in our life, it's extremely important to us to be near our grandchildren." And I think that's fantastic. And we're going to give them every help we can to assist into that new transition back to where they're from and being near their children and grandchildren. But not everybody's going to be like that, I've got plenty of clients who were quite content to stay where they were, way away from their children, but then decide to make the move back only when they absolutely needed help. And hopefully you can make that transition. Hopefully your children want to do that. That you're not just you're coming back just because you need help. You have to think about those things. But I also met a person once who, in retirement, a group came to their church with, helping people in countries that were war-ridden. And these people, met these people. They really were just playing golf and traveling and things like that. And they met these people, and all of a sudden, they just had a heart for this type of thing, and they got actively involved. And to this day, they're finding so much purpose and fulfillment out of this mission that they have. They don't make any money at it. They're just strictly volunteers, and they don't do it full time. They're only doing it about 2 or 3 months a year, but they're doing things that they feel they're making a difference. And everybody's different. You all get to choose it for yourself, but make sure you're finding purpose in life. Make sure you're developing those relationships that are most important to you.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to that question. It's what is personal to you.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So one of the big, big impacts to the non-financial side of retirement is your health, both physical and mental. A lot of successful retirees do regular exercise. And it can be difficult at times because people say, oh, I'm working, I don't have the time for exercise. Once I retire, I'll have all this time to exercise. But if you're not in that routine of exercise, it's hard to start. But once you get in that routine, it can be very beneficial to your health. We see a lot of clients that come in and they look 10 years younger than they actually are. And they say, oh yeah, I walk a mile a day, or I do this type of exercise. And everyone's different with what type of exercise works for them, but it can have great impacts on both your physical and mental health.
No doubt.
One of the other keys is socialization. That plays a big role in your mental health. If you are not married and you live alone, it's really important to, go out with friends or join a church group or something to get you out of the house and mingling with other people, because that can play a big role in that mental health. Another big thing is to exercise mentally. And you might say, what the heck is that? And that's things like just making sure you're always learning new things, doing, brain games, something of that nature, so that you can just keep your mind fresh and active.
I'm not going to do Sudoku because every time I do, I feel dumb.
And that's not your thing, but that might be someone's thing. But
I'm a numbers guy too. For some reason, that game just drives me crazy.
a big one recently has been Wordle. Everyone does the word of the day, and that's a good thing just to keep your mind fresh and thinking. And then another thing that we see is people have these tendencies to stop doing something when it gets hard. So if you're in this routine of physically exercising and you hurt your knee, well, things are getting hard, you have to stop. And maybe that knee injury is a 2-week injury. You see your doctor and they say, yep, just rest it for a couple weeks, ice it, Advil, and then you should be good to go. Well, the problem is after that 2 weeks happen, people sort of get used to sitting on the couch a little bit more, not going out and exercising. And it can get hard to start doing that again. But it's really important that you still maintain that physical health even after something happens.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the best slides about what you ought to be doing in retirement that's non-financial. I'm a big advocate to our clients about going to independent living communities and not staying in an individual house in just a regular neighborhood. And the reason is everything you're talking about here, because they have activities to help you exercise and to enjoy exercise. They have activities to continue to mentally exercise your mind and learn new things. They have the socialization. It's forced on you almost, But the other thing too is one of the big reasons a lot of people don't want to do that is because they look at the house they live in and they think to themselves, I've lived here for 30 or 40 years. How the heck am I going to pack all this up and move into a community like that? And that's that hard thing, Alec. You start thinking about that, your mind just freezes, 30 years of stuff you've accumulated. And all of a sudden you're just gonna pack it all up, move into an independent living community. The other thing, real quick, is a lot of people have a bad impression of independent living communities because they've been to places where they see, people sitting around with their with their walker and so forth. And they think, I'm not going to one of those old folk homes. But these communities are gearing up for the baby boomers. They're gearing up for the baby boomers because they know people my age aren't going to the place that my mother and father went to. My mother and father didn't mind going to Oakcrest or Charleston, which are known Maryland type places. They would have gone there in a heartbeat. But my generation is not going to a place like that. They need a place that's like a cross between a Marriott resort and a Harvard University. And you put those two together and you market that to the baby boomers, they're going to come. And these communities understand this. That's what they're going to look like in 5, 10, 15 at the most years. This is what they're going to morph into as the builder generation passes away and the boomer generation starts moving to those types of facilities.
And you're already seeing these new type of facilities, just like you're describing, start becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, all over the place. Maryland tends to be less because it's not a big state to want to retire to, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's high cost of living and high taxation. So you don't tend to see them as much in Maryland, but they're all over the country, where many of our clients are all over the country also. So they're seeing this anyway.
Yeah. So some of the effective strategies that successful retirees use are focusing on the things that you can control. So I'll go a little bit deeper into this in a couple of slides, but what this really means is you can't control what the news is saying. You can only control how you react to that news. So a lot of people sit and watch the news and get bogged down by everything they're saying. But the whole point of news is these networks are trying to get you to watch. So they're trying to invoke that reaction out of you. But if you can watch the news strictly for what the information is and not worry about the reaction to it, it can have a great effect on your impact on an overall outlook on life. One of the most important things in this entire presentation might be to expand and or deepen the relationships around you. What this really means is some people like to have, lots of friends. They have big families. They have a lot of relationships around them. And some people have, a couple of really good friends and a couple of really awesome family members that they like to be around. In retirement, deepening these relationships rather than trying to solve all of the world's problems or worry about money or worry about other things can be really successful for living a happy life. Worry about the things that are important to you rather than things that you can't control. And then one of the last really big important items that effective retirees use is always continuing to improve. When you're in a career, you're always trying to move up that corporate ladder or whatever career you're in, and you're always trying to improve on yourself. Once you're in retirement, that shouldn't stop. You should always try and learn new things, continue to improve yourself, and don't just get stuck in a rut.
Yeah. The deepen relationships and is so important for everyone. Some people enjoy expanding their relationships, but you also have to work at deepening your relationships. And a lot of times, Alec, fulfillment in life comes at the end when you look at what you've left behind or what you're leaving behind, and saying to yourself, I am completely fulfilled knowing whatever it is, but 99% of the time it's the relationships that you've had and what impact you had on those relationships. I like to say often, a legacy is building in the inspiration and aspiration into a younger generation to continue to do something even better than what you did during your lifetime. Yeah. And I think that's the greatest legacy you can leave behind. I had a client just recently pass away, and I know for a fact that she looked at her children and was completely at peace knowing who they were and what they had done and what they're doing, and her grandchildren and so forth. And I think that was a great reward to her, and she was quite content.
Yeah, that's really important. So going back to what I had just mentioned about the focusing on the things that you can control, there are two types of circles in the psychology world, and it's called the circle of control and the circle of concern, or the circle of influence. So the circle of concern are the things that you cannot control. So these are things like the weather, the economy, what's on the news, things of that nature. The circle of influence are the things you can either control or have an influence on. So these are things like your physical or mental health. You can influence these by exercise. what you buy, what you purchase. Those are things you can control. The relationships around you, these are the things that you can influence. And effective people have a larger circle of influence. So they focus and they're proactive on the things that they can control, and they don't worry about the things they can't control. So they have a larger circle of influence and a smaller circle of concern. So these are the people that are highly effective. The people that are worried about what's on the news, or what social media accounts they're following, or other people's behavior, they can get very reactive. And that can lead to not living or being successful or living a happy and fulfilling retirement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, the old serenity prayer, right? Yeah, you ever heard that? The serenity prayer is, Lord, give me the peace to accept what I have no control over, and the courage and the power to overcome the things that I do have control over. And that's exactly what you're saying here. I've been known to tell people quite often that the human body is probably the most sophisticated computer you've ever experienced, you will ever experience. There's nothing more sophisticated, but the human body is very much like a computer. You know, if you think about it, there's hardware, there's the organs and the nervous system and the circulatory system are very much like the operating systems inside of a computer. And when you think about that, what you put into a computer is going to determine what's going to come out of that computer.
Yeah.
And the human body is no different. And I am diligent about not allowing things to go through these eyes or these ears or these fingers. Those are the ways that input into this human body. I don't like those things to input things into me that I don't really want. There's a great thing to realize and understand when you think of the human body as a computer, and these eyes, these ears, and these fingers, and this mouth, actually your taste buds, all those things are what input information into this. Very important what you put in there, Alec.
Yeah. So there are a bunch of non-financial impacts, but as we all know, retirement, there's a bunch of financial impacts, and the two are very intertwined. They're very connected. The decisions you make with your finances impact the decisions you make with the non-financial impacts of your retirement. So these are things like what you do with money and how you think about money is going to affect the relationships that you have with other people or the things that you do in life. So worrying about money is going to have a negative impact on your retirement. It's going to have a negative impact on all of the other things you do in life. So what we're here to do is lessen that worry. We're going to try and do our best to do all the research that we can so that you can develop those relationships and not have to worry as much about the money management.
Yep. That's been our mission statement for over 25 years now, actually.
Yeah, and I think this mission statement perfectly encapsulates what we're trying to say here today, is that worrying about the money management is going to have a great impact on all of the other things in retirement, not just the finances, but the non-financial impacts.
You know, relationships are extremely important now. Like, I think we've pounded that home throughout this webinar, right?
Yeah, that's one of the main things that we're trying to get across to people, is that the people you surround yourself with are going to have the greater impact on your retirement.
But let me ask you a quick question. What's the number one thing that destroys relationships?
Money.
Isn't it funny how we spend so much time worrying about money and thinking money's powerful and money, but yet it's destroying likely our desire and worry about money. is probably destroying the thing that we really care about the most and desire and need the most, which is the relationships that we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a great place to sort of end on.
Yeah, I think that perfectly closes up what we were trying to get across today. And as always, if this impacted you in any ways, if you have any other questions or any other follow-up that you have, and you're already a client, you can reach out to your primary advisor, you can reach out to me or Drew. Also,
And share the webinar, right?
share the webinar with your friends. And if you are interested in becoming a client, our website is listed down here. You can learn about us, you can schedule a meeting. And if you want, you can scan this QR code here at the bottom right of the screen, and it will take you to a page where you can schedule a phone call with us to get to know about us.
That was great, Alec. I really appreciate all you did to put that together.
Yeah. And I hope everyone that was watching has a great rest of their day and a happy holidays.
Thank you.